let's talk woolly felted mats. Most quilters already own woolly felted mats, but in case you don't, let me tell you all about them. First of all, they're 100% felted wool. Our mats from the Gypsy Quilter are about a ½ inch thick, and they come in lots of sizes. The craft sizes, 4x4 and 8.5x8.5, are good for little projects and for handwork. Also works as a pin cushion. Then you can get woolly felted mats 14 inches square, 14x19, 17 inches square, and then 17x24, which is the most popular size. You can also get a full ironing board tabletop size, which is 21.5 by 58.5, and that's what I have on my ironing surface. So why use a woolly felted mat? Well, here's why. The wool absorbs and distributes the heat and the moisture from your iron as you're pressing your blocks and your seams. So it's like pressing from both sides. You get the most wonderful flat and crisp seams. It really does make a difference. The texture of the woolly felted mat also keeps your fabric from sliding. So when you're trying to press those seams, your fabric stays where you put it. I should add a note. If you have cats, cats love to scratch and destroy woolly felted mats, so keep it in a safe place. It's also great for embroidery, either hand stitching or machine stitching. Place your embroidery right side down and give it a nice press. The texture of the woolly felted mat protects your stitches so they don't flatten out. Woolly felted mats are safe on corian, formica, steel, and stone, but don't use them on painted wood, laminate, or your cutting mat. The heat will warp your cutting mat. If you want to use your wool mat on a laminated surface, like I do on my surface, use a secondary surface underneath it. This is just compressed wood or plywood covered with a couple layers of batting and then heat-resistant ironing board fabric, which we sell at the store. Now that you have your woolly felted mat and you've been using it, what do you need to know? Well, it's suggested that if you use spray starch in your quilting, that you starch your fabric and allow it to completely dry before you press it. Otherwise, there's a danger of scorching the starch on your mat. That's what turns the mat yellow. I don't wait for my starch to dry before I press it, but I'm very careful to not use the hottest setting or to keep my iron moving, and my ironing mat has no scorch marks. After you've had your mat for a while, it may become necessary to clean it. I did a test on one of our mats at the store, and I followed the cleaning instructions right from the Gypsy Quilter. They suggest that you simply run your woolly felted mat under cold water and then hang it to dry. Well, our mat at the store was pretty dirty. They get used a lot. So someone else suggested you could soak it, and that's what I did. I put my woolly felted mat in my bathtub, ran cold water until it was covered. Then I soaked it for about 30 minutes. I drained my tub and then rinsed it under cold water, and then I stood it on the edge of my tub for about 30 minutes to get most of the moisture out. They suggest you hang it to dry, but this was the middle of winter and I didn't really have a great place to do that. So I laid mine on a towel and flipped it every half an hour so that it was on a dry surface. I was really happy with how the wool mat turned out. It was noticeably cleaner. There are some sites on the web that suggest you put in a mild soap like Woolite. I could see maybe if I had spilled something on my mat, I might try that, but I was a little concerned about how much I would have to rinse to get all that soap out of my woolly felted mat. I'm not saying it's wrong, just that I didn't do it. All right, here are some other ways to keep your mat clean. If you have threads and tiny pieces of fabric on top, you can use a lint roller to pick up those little threads, or Aunt Pam's quilt sponge. Both work really good for taking little pieces of thread or fabric off the top of your mat. Now, some people have complained that when they buy their woolly felted mat, it has a smell. Well, I guess wet wool smells, but there's a way to combat that. Mix 2 teaspoons of baking soda with 1 cup of distilled water. They also suggest that you could mix 5 to 7 drops of your favorite essential oil in the baking soda before you mix it with the water. Spritz your mat every time before you're going to use it, and before you know it, that odor would be gone. I've never had a woolly felted mat that had an odor, so I don't know if that works for sure. It's very important, if your woolly felted mat becomes wet because you've been using steam and pressing a lot, to hang it to dry or stand it up to dry. Don't allow it to remain moist. It may become mildewy. Well, I think that's everything you need to know about woolly felted mats. I hope you'll try cleaning yours, either by rinsing in cold water or soaking. And if you've spilled something on it, go ahead and try a little bit of mild detergent and let me know how it works.